Peace, 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 peace to the purpose and practice community. This is Dr. Rawls coming on a little earlier tonight. As many of us in our community, we got some news last week that has really been like bothering me, and I've been struggling with for the last week in terms of processing it, in terms of dealing with it. And that is, the loss of our brother Naheem Arul Torres. I reached out to Suki to get her blessings in terms of speaking briefly about the brother tonight, and the experiences that I have had the opportunity to share with him, and I appreciate you for those blessings, um, Suki, and my condolences to the entire family. Um, I can't imagine, the heartache that this has brought upon the family and his friends, extended and close, and his brothers and sisters that he shared so much of his life with. So a huge, um, you know, condolences, heartfelt condolences to you all out there. His immediate family and Swift out there. Respect to you, brother, and my love is with you and the entire family. Shout out to Sham for the photo. This is beautiful, and a rendition of the brother that is is fitting. I had a show tonight at 7, and I was like, yo, I can't even do this show, in not first, after not being on live for a month, not first give a salute to the brother I rule, as he showed and proved to be, and as we knew him. Um, I grew up, man, Garfield Court, shout out Garfield Court, Grand Court, in between both. I grew up. We grew up in an imperfect environment, but an environment with crazy love. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we get it twisted. Not we don't get it twisted, but folks from outside of our community can get it twisted, and think that how we grew up and where we grew up was not filled with love. It was filled with love, and I say that because I go back to knowing I rule, as being a young head coming up in Garfield Court, and spending days and days and days in the summer behind the center. And if you knew I rule, he would spend a lot of times behind the center. Had a love for dogs, animals, and period. And always had like knowledge to share, about those animals. And I remember that as a kid, we would go back there. Shout out to the young heads that I came up with. Just was out there. Mark used to be out there. Fahim, um, JJ. We were always back there. And one of the things that I rule used to do is, man, he was a real good shooter, right, in basketball. So then behind the center, for those of you who don't know, it was a basketball court. It was right in the vicinity of where we grew up, which we affectionately began to call the jungle, which I'll get into a little later. But so yeah, so he used to be a crazy shooter, and we would play a game called around the world, and it would be four people in total and two people a team. And when I tell you this brother, man, like he would, like, I don't know, he had a crazy way putting crazy spin on the ball, but he would like kill that game. Now he wasn't like getting in the 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 5-on. He wasn't doing that. But when it came to that around the world, he did his thing. Also, man, some of the early lessons on probability growing up, we got from behind the center from brothers like I rule, shooting dice, man. I mean, I first learned probability, believe it or not, that way, because he was a brother that will pull you to the side and school you, on the science of mathematics and on the science of numbers. always looking out. And I remember that. And, the years I'm talking about right now, man, I couldn't have been any more than 8 years old, 9 years old, during this times of coming up. And, he was always someone with a smile on his face and always welcoming, just like always a welcoming presence, and a share of knowledge. Now, as I begin to grow up and mature, one of the things that, we as youth, that we struggled with was not having knowledge of ourselves, and having a strong sense of who we were. And I rule, in terms of being one of the older gods and, the nation of gods and herbs, he was, and I can't even mention him without mentioning True Born, but those were two brothers, that you knew you always saw them together. And I rule was one of the first brothers that really, showed me that we can be street scientists, right? When I tell you, like, there's not many orators that I know who were better than I rule. And when I say orators, I mean, brother, a quick thinker on his feet, just a learner, an avid reader, a studier. Um, and what they did was, I rule and the other older guys, man, they really took us under their wing, and they made being intelligent feel appealing, because, sometimes we can get caught up in this whole, like a whole anti-intellectual state, where, having knowledge itself, being intelligent and studying isn't cool. And this brother, when I say he made it cool, it's an understatement. And also what it did was, and brothers know, it created an environment, we used to call, iron sharpens iron, you know, but it created an environment of like, yo, you better know your lessons and you better study or you can't come outside. Everybody say now I'm outside, I'm outside. Well, in the era where we came up, in the 80s, then the 90s, if you didn't know your lessons and if you could not show and prove, you couldn't come outside. You spend the summer inside. And brothers like Aru, though, they would he would create spaces, even in his own home for us to study, and learn the science of ourselves, and to learn, how to apply, the lessons to our daily life. And when I think about, even the work that I do today, which is teaching, um, it goes back to to these times. And and brothers like I rule, we used to meet in over in Cherry Street, and we used to have civilization classes on Sundays. And a lot of brothers, I saw Wise Champ posted a picture of us at a civilization class. Shelly posted one. And we would go over there, and it's a great picture. I mean, so many people in it. I know True Born was in it. Born was in it. Gajib was in it. Wise, Just, so much. Sadir, rest in peace. Sadir was in it. Eternal, rest in peace, was in it. So many brothers. I shine. I may be missing a few, but we used to go there, and we used to build, and we used to have so much fun together, learning our own history, and learning how to apply and adapt to the current situations that we were in. One of my first leadership experiences, right? So the older guys, including I rule, they were like, we need to start a charter, a bus to go, to go to the parliament. So I was given the responsibility, a few times, to conduct fundraising, and I had to, at an early age, learn how to go and buy candy at cost, or in bulk. Used to go to this candy store in company, rather, in Neptune, and get the candy, and then bring it back and split it up, between between all of the brothers and sisters. And then we would sell it and fundraise in order to afford a bus to go, and that was like, you talk about a lesson in responsibility at a young age and to be responsible. I'm talking about, over 60 brothers and sisters getting on that bus, and making sure that I did my part, under the leaderships of brothers like, I rule. One of the it's so crazy because one of the last it was the last time, that I saw I rule. Um I was it was 4th of July. It was a few years back. We were at the beach with my family, and I rule and Suki actually were crossing in the parking lot that we were watching fireworks. And he came up, and I hadn't seen him in years, prior to this. And he came up, and you all know, if you know I rule, that look that he gave you, you would think he was so proud of you, like no matter what, it was like a look, and he gave me that look. And then he also had a way of like making it that you were the only person, you know what I'm saying, in the room, and I'll never forget, him saying, peace, and how happy he was to see me, and how proud he was of me. And that's one of the things, because like I said, man, we're all imperfect and we all live imperfect lives. But I rule, he was one of the brothers that was like, he wanted better for us, and I mentioned Trueborn as well because he wanted better for us. These are brothers that when we graduated high school, they were front and center saluting us for those accomplishments. Even giving us money for those accomplishments of, so it was like, yo, this street life, not for y'all. Y'all need to go and y'all need to do things and be productive and do things, great things for your community and great things for your family. And real talk, man, to this day, when I carry myself into any situation professionally or what have you, those are the teachings in the folks whose backs and shoulders I'm standing on. Is brothers like I rule. When I read last week, the circumstances um of the brother, in terms of, and I don't even like speaking of our rule in past tense, because we all know that, listen, knowledge is infinite, and we also know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So therefore we know that this brother is still with us. Even me doing this is a testament to that. We I read, in that the brother was fishing, and when I read that, I had read Suki's post, and she was saying that, he he returned to the essence, doing what it is that he loved to do. And I I just thought about that, and I was like, yo, the God always did love fishing, and I thought of, a Bible, a story in the Bible, and Jesus, his first two disciples were fishermen, and they were casting large nets into I think it was the Sea of Galilee. Um, and it was Simon and Andrew. And Jesus went and he was like, yo, you all need to follow me. These are first two disciples. You need to follow me and be fishermen of men. And that, when I read that he was returned, that Aru returned to the essence in the way in the sea, I thought about that because he was a fisherman of men. He was responsible for many brothers such as myself, in young growth, and having strong racial pride as young men, having strong cultural pride as young men, and we followed, we followed, and that that if it was a way for him to be called back to the essence, that was a way. That was a way, because that's what he was. and if you were ever in his presence, you would know that. And I just want to, I'm getting ready to hop off, but I just wanted to have this time to share just a few reflections. I can go on, but I wanted to share a few reflections, and I thought that it was the right thing to do. And again, my condolences to the family. Um, my condolences to all those he touched. But what I'll say is this, you know, continue to be fishermen of men, all of us. If it's one thing that I rule would want, that would be it. And I'm happy that this platform exists because it exists for this purpose, to create documentation of our history so that we have cultural memory, and we remember brothers such as I rule, and others. So with that said, I'm going to say peace, um, and I wish all of you great health, mentally, emotionally, socially, as well as physically, in these times. And once again, my condolences to the family. Salute, and please keep your heads up because this brother, he touched so many of us in a positive way. Peace.